So, hi everyone, and welcome to webinar number 13 in our Responsible Hillside Living series. This time around, we're talking about aging in place on a hillside. I'm Robert Thompson, Principal Architect here at Ackee Workshop, and I'm joined by Declan Lockpat, Head Designer here at Ackee Workshop. And we want to take you guys through this concept of aging in place because it's something that we find, in the excitement of doing your own home initially, you don't really think about, what happens in the future. And I think it's something we constantly kind of take our clients' minds back to. And I wanted us to come on here and kind of, give a feeling for it and see where people's heads are with this idea. So what is aging in place? So, I mean, the name says it, it's the ability to grow old and still remain somewhat independent in your own home. And we're going to be looking at 4 key considerations you need to be thinking about. How your house should function for you and your family as you grow older, because our functions don't stay the same. We all know that. But the house is static, and in the initial design of your house, you need to be thinking about that, because the house has to be able to be molded to your needs in the future. So these considerations are, important, whether or not you're, just planning your dream home or you already live in your dream home. You have to think about the next phase of your life, because it comes your own fast. And, these topics are very important, to consider in any case, whether you're planning or you're already living in your dream home, or even if you're not even ready yet. But these are things that, oh wait, maybe I didn't take this into consideration before. I know you think, oh, how does this affect my planning to build right now? So we're going to start with home modification and accessibility. Now, how our homes work for us now is not the same way as it will work for us in the future. So, if you get an issue with your mobility, the first thing you might need, especially if you're on a hillside, the first thing you're going to need is maybe a chairlift. Depending on the extent of it, you might need an actual, personal elevator, single person elevator, right? You may need to actually, redo the openings in your house to be able to facilitate wheelchair access. Now, the image shown here, we're looking at an example of an accessible bathroom, and bathrooms are one of the troubled areas for accessibility, because it's usually a small space, and to maneuver accessibility items like wheelchairs is usually a big deal. So thinking about how you build your bathroom from the get-go, with like no upstands to kind of stop a wheelchair moving, or having grab rails tastefully designed so that it don't feel like an old people bathroom, but it feels like something that's tasteful and current. These are things to consider in your initial design thinking. And other modifications could be your kitchen. Most kitchens are very sleek, very kind of monolithic, but when you need to use a wheelchair, you might be butting up against an island, So you need free and clear single story living once you get to that kind of, age. Next, we'll be looking at healthcare services at home. Now, when you initially design your home, you design it for you and your family. So let's say you have multiple rooms. How do you think about what could happen in the future with having somebody come in after your kids move away? You may want somebody to come in and live with you, but you still wanna maintain your independence. You don't wanna feel like somebody's definitely living with you. So how can you maintain that independence and still have support? And that requires clever ways of separating your different functions in your space. I see a comment here from Kwesi. We'll get to your comments after this. Yeah, that's definitely an idea. That's one thing. If you have the space. If you don't have the space, especially on a hillside, you usually don't have the space to do that. So you may have to integrate the two spaces together, right? The next consideration, assistive technology. Now, this is, looking at smart home kits, smart lights, smart locks, automated temperature controls, fall detection systems. These are things that you may not have the money to make provisions for now, or you may not have the money to install now, but you could think about the provisions they need in the future and make those provisions now. So let's say you need, electrics in a certain place. If you've thought about where this thing's supposed to go, then you could think, okay, I'll put my electrics already in place to be able to retrofit my home easily for assistive technologies as it develops, right? Anybody has any questions, feel free to jump off mute and, let me know your feelings on any of the considerations so far. We want to make this as interactive as possible. Any questions? No? Okay, we'll move on. Right, so assistive technologies, then we're looking at financial planning. Now, with this is looking at, knowing what your home is like now, knowing what your home would be like in the future, and planning for understanding and monitoring the cost of technologies as you grow old, and actually putting in place a saving system for that. Because, maybe by the time you're ready for these systems, you are, not working. So what we can do now is, while we're living in our home and seeing how it works, we could start to save for that time. So anybody come off mute and tell me if you're already live in a home and you're considering your old age, and or you live in a home with an old family member. Anybody? And what that's like?
Hi everyone. Hi Robert. So
Hi.
my dad is basically 77 and
Hmm.
I mean we have the business run from home, so we have some very sturdy doors that he has to push. We have stairs. So like I'm obviously thinking, Mom, like we need to plan for that because this is going to be difficult for him when he has to navigate up the stairs and
Mhm.
just be able to sustain himself without us having to always be behind him. So I don't
Mhm.
really think our home was designed with age in mind,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. And I remember 2 years ago when my granny had to temporarily live with us, like we literally had to be behind her just to get up the stairs or in the rooms. And it really wasn't built or designed for
Mm.
of of age. So
Right.
this workshop is very um
Right.
good.
So,
It's
uh-huh.
timely because we're all gonna get there at some point, and
Yes.
is the knowledge is gonna stay with us. So when we are
Yes.
designing our future homes and clients'
Mm-hmm.
homes, and advising clients, I mean, knowing the cost, I think would be beneficial so that they could
Mm-hmm.
factor that.
Definitely, definitely. Now, I mean, there are many sort of aerial. Wait, sorry. Let me just answer this. There are many kind of um systems now that you could actually get. So, like for instance, you could have a portable ramp. If someone's in a wheelchair, you could move around with. Because in Trinidad, as you know, accessibility is not exactly top of mind. Um, but like, simple things in your house, like, sturdy grab rails for stairs, that's important. And, proper lighting in your stairwells, that's also important, you know. But again, looking at your home and assessing, the needs of your father, for instance, and you already said something like, sturdy doors that are heavy to push. You could look at different hinge technologies that you could, start to incorporate that could make that easier for them, right? Ariel, you had a question?
Oh no, I had to share. Sorry. Good day,
Okay,
everyone.
no
Um,
problem.
my experience so far, I really love the idea of this workshop because my mother-in-law is diabetic and immobile. So
Mm,
while the wheelchair can come through the front door and through the
mm-hmm,
corridor, the bathroom, the sides,
mm,
it was very difficult to maneuver. So we would have to lift her up and we would put,
right.
I love, I didn't know we had wheelchairs with the rail supports. We
Mhm,
used our regular plastic wheelchairs, I mean, our
right.
plastic chairs to put in the bathroom to bathe her.
Uh,
Additionally, the concept of the open bathroom,
mm-hmm,
I really loved how that was laid out because going to the shower to the bathroom, that
mm-hmm,
is a process. If you don't have the assistive technology, if the wheelchair can't go in, so
yeah,
I really like what I'm seeing so far.
okay.
And like you said, we don't really keep aging in mind because
No,
when she first became immobile, like we had to do a makeshift ramp to get her
mm,
down the stairs. So
yeah,
this is really, really educational and I appreciate it.
good. And this is why we do this, to try and like, raise awareness and bring some kind of light, shed some light on this topic. So we have three examples we're gonna go through, things that we've worked on. Um, Declan, you wanna jump on and talk about the first two?
Sure. Evening. So there we are going to be looking at a few case studies that we have worked on over the years. This first particular case study involved an existing home that was built in the early 80s. The client was having difficulty with mobility over the years, and at this particular point in time in the project, she was ailing even more, and the stairs are troublesome for to access her master suite that was actually retrofitted um, for her various needs in terms of wheelchair accessibility and so forth. Lucky enough for this particular project, they had an existing spiral staircase, which allowed us to basically remove and retrofit an elevator, which was actually called a platform lift. This allowed her to basically use her motorized wheelchair freely on her own and access the upper floor without any other without any assistance from anybody else. But I mean, this of course was all an afterthought. This particular home did not allow for her to set up anything on the ground floor. And because she was living in this house for 40 years, she was accustomed and more comfortable staying in her existing master bedroom, which was located on the upper floor. But can you go on to the next slide, please?
Sure.
So putting in this elevator or platform lift was ideal for her. Thankfully, she could have afforded it, but not everybody can. But at least in retrospect, the spiral staircase provided her that opportunity to put this in place. And this was also locally sourced from a local supplier. Keep in mind that all elevators, especially in Trinidad and Tobago, must be certified for operation. This is not something that you can do yourself. For the second case study, this was a residence where the client came to us ahead of time and was planning for the future. In planning for the future, they knew that they needed a two-story building in order to accommodate 4 bedrooms in total, where they had 3 kids, and the couple from the get-go decided that they wanted to ensure that this was going to be their forever home. And by doing so, the idea was to look at putting in a ground floor master bedroom suite that was big enough for ease of mobility, a large bathroom that was spacious enough so that a wheelchair can move around and have all those accessibility hardware in place, so that it would be easy for them, and also open plan ground floor with ramp access, wheelchair ramp accesses from the carport and ramp access to go on the porch, so they don't feel limited in mobility to move from spaces place and from indoor to outdoor and vice versa.
Anything else?
No, I think that should be it for now, because we can introduce the third one and then.
Any questions so far? I see Chrissy has a question regarding.
I can speak and ask that question. Listen, this is funny because my wife registered for this and then she went out, so she asked me to jump on, and I'm finding it fascinating. For a couple of reasons. I've been, I live in London, but I'm here in Trinidad for the moment with my mom, and I've been thinking about this place as she's getting older, and at the same time we are looking to build our own place. So just with that spiral staircase example, would it then be, I mean, I know that when they built the house initially, she wouldn't have wanted a platform lift. It wouldn't have fit, and it may not have been in budget. Would it then make sense in the initial design to almost build in redundancy? This is here because later on it can change to this. Is that something that would be sort of suggested? Right.
Yeah. That's, I mean, you could change your stair to, because the older you get, the stair is useless now. So yeah, definitely that's a consideration for sure. I mean, there are other things. There's another project that we've done where there's a spot in an office that if mobility becomes an issue, we could, cut a hole in the floor and put a lift that comes down into the office so that they could kind of access because it's on a hillside. We only do houses on hills, but mainly.
Right.
We have to consider, a lift for later or a chair lift for later, always, no matter what the project is.
Right.
So yeah, so that's definitely a good move to make.
Right.
with.
No, that makes sense. I never actually considered that, this sort of building in the thing to change later on. So that's rather interesting.
Exactly. So for the next project, this is a current project we're working on now. And this is like looking at the example of aging on a hillside. It's a 2-bedroom house that's on a pretty steep slope. And what we've done is a site plan of it. We've basically created, 2 spaces kind of split, and you drive in off the road, you park, and then you have a straight stair that takes you down to the single-story living space. All right. Now, there's no way to get away from having to use a stair, but in knowing this, you could make your stair, wide enough to be able to eventually put in a chairlift. So you come home, you sit in your chairlift and get down. Or we've also put in a dumbwaiter. So you come in, you put your stuff in the dumbwaiter, that goes down, and you're free to walk down if you can still walk, or use the chairlift to get down. And once you get downstairs, you are on a single level. The master suite is on this side, where you come along the kitchen here. You have a fully accessible bathroom, your closet, and your master suite that accesses your balcony. So you have lots of light, lots of air, and then you have a spare bedroom and an office. Now the spare bedroom connects to a kind of full bathroom, which is a powder room. But what we've done with this is we've made it so that we have an external stair here that goes back up to the entry. If you think of somebody who's assisting you, they could actually live in this space independently. So imagine a sliding door comes here, this person could be here, and you still feel as though, okay, I'm not living with somebody, I don't have a roommate. It's like a separate house. And a kitchen could be fit in here, and so on. So this is an example of something we're working on now. And this is kind of like us investigating the idea of like, how do we make hillside living, feasible as you get older. And this is an image of what the building will eventually look like. Any questions?
Hi, good evening.
Hi.
I'm here from Barbados. The topic interested me because I actually myself I had an issue with a knee, and I was in the process of buying a house, and I purposely said, okay, I no longer wanted to buy a house that was 2-story. So I bought something that was all 1 level. And then having relatives who have elderly relatives who have various issues. So it's kind of fascinating. In terms of the staircase that you were showing from the parking pad area, is that covered when you come down?
Yes.
Okay, because I wasn't sure if it was actually, because I was thinking about the elements.
So you're actually inside this.
Oh, you're inside, almost like a little bit of a tunnel. Okay.
Yeah. So you come down along there.
Okay.
So you're inside there, and then your groceries or whatever you're carrying comes down into your pantry.
Oh, okay.
So it's like a closed carport.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you go in through there, and you come in and you come down. So it's just like, just these simple kind of no-brainer techniques to make provisions for later.
Okay. I noticed that you said obviously you do most of your work on hillsides, that type of thing. Because when I think of, in the case of Barbados, even though I've been to Trinidad, but I don't know the topography that well. I know certainly in our Scotland district is not someplace where I would build on a hillside because of the clay and the movement. Because when I look at this, and also I am the daughter, my late father was an civil engineer, so I'm a little fascinated with the way you've built it on those, I don't know what you call them, the piles or whatever, in terms of how do you, in terms of even navigate or doing that type of work, or if and is there a way in the design of things like this where you can actually access, as you said, enjoy living in the space, in the outdoors aspect? How would you, like, say if the person wanted to maybe create, I don't know, say like an entertainment area underneath, that would require, I'm assuming, some level of, again, maybe some form of elevator down, something like that, so you can get onto the lower levels and then back up.
Definitely.
And enough build out that you have enough space to safely navigate. Okay.
Yeah,
I just thought of
looking
it
at,
because of the
yeah.
yeah.
That's no going into like a hefty budget there. Because then you have to get down here and then terraform the underside. Whereas in this example, you know, there's a, you know, entertainment space here where there's a small pool for exercise off this area. So you come down these stairs to a pool deck. So, you know, we've tried to make all the kind of necessary functions compact on one level. And then the rest is just landscaped and kind of, you know, we're big advocates for having a building be reclaimed by its ecosystem. So that's why in the, you know, in the image it kind of looks like it's being taken back. And that's something that's really important to us, that a building is not sticking out. It's just kind of like melded with its landscape eventually.
Okay, I was noticing when you talked about the in terms of the master bedroom, because I was looking at the closet, the walk-in closet, or as I guess wheel-in closet, and I thought about what you recommend to people. I was thinking of if someone's in a wheelchair. I think I've seen them where you can have like multiple racks of clothing coming down, but you actually almost like a hook, like a grab, I guess kind of like a grab bar of some sort that they could pull down and push them. And I guess so it makes them as independent as possible if they were doing certain activities.
Exactly. Because I mean, it's the technologies and all the kind of ideas are all there. It's just kind of implement them, or make provision to implement them easily when the time comes. Yeah. Any other questions? Nope. Anything? Well, we want to, excellent, you're all good. We want to, well, we're coming close to the end, but we want to shed light on this because, you know, as we said, it's something that people often either don't think about or often refuse to think about. But hearing from you guys now is, you know, it's a current challenge. And I mean, you could always, you know, contact us if you want to kind of have a discussion about, you know, how you could retrofit your place, if needs be. Software and engine you use. Oof. I think this was done in Corona. I could check. So yeah, so we wanna be able to, you know, support you guys as much as possible by bringing these topics that we know affect people but aren't always talked about. And, you know, we appreciate you joining us. So, you know, if there's any other question, if there's no other question, so we wanna kind of probably sign off now. So any more questions? Anything popping up?
Last one was just, is this recording going to be made available? Because I would love to watch it over. Fantastic. I mean,
we're looking YouTube.
Yeah, the one we'll first looking to build on flatland, so not necessarily where you guys are at, but I will be applying some of the things that you mentioned here as those thoughts for
Definitely.
future.
And if
But
you want to have a virtual consultation with us, feel free to drop us a line. We're always happy
All
to
right.
help.
That sounds great. That sounds great. Thanks.
All right. Anybody else?
I just want to ask, okay, let's say
Mhm.
someone does in fact have a property similar to upgrade or retrofit the property for the elderly. What is the
Mhm.
cost associated, roughly a draft? Let's just
Oof,
for shits and
that's
giggles.
that's a tough one, because then, so you're thinking to, upgrade a bathroom, number one, right?
Right. And then, like if you had
Then
stairs
access.
and then you have that lift,
Yeah.
like Declan
Um,
was mentioned earlier with the
what we
previous.
can do is, when we send out the link, we will
Right.
send out links to different suppliers, and you could start to kind of you could start maybe speak to them about their their offers, because
Gotcha.
there's Never Pushette, there's RBP Lift, there's AP Scott with their bathroom lines. So there are
Right.
companies here that have accessibility items for sale that you could actually possibly get an assessment from, right?
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Awesome. Oh,
Um,
this was great,
Ariel,
Robert. Thanks so much.
no problem, Ricardo. Ariel, question from you? You have
Yes,
it,
one
please.
last comment. Having that independence, whether it is someone with a disability or an aged person, is really
Mhm.
important. So I really appreciate. I know this was more an architectural webinar, but having seen the rails and the different modes we can implement to ensure that persons have this independence, it is really
Mhm.
good to see. And I personally am interested, and I have applied to occupational therapy school. So
Mm.
being able to see how we can improve and home health, it was really important to me to see. So thank you so much for making this webinar accessible, and I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And we'll send the link out to everybody once it's online, and you could watch again. And if you have any other questions after this, just feel free to drop us a line. We're always here to help. Again, our mission is to improve the accessibility of thoughtful design across socioeconomic boundaries. So this is what we do. We really want to talk to you about your problems and see how much we could help. All right. So we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us. Declan, any final words?
Yes. So one of the great things about this particular topic, and I would like to reach out to all the participants to keep this sort of thing in mind when you're talking to your friends and family as well, because there are a lot of folks out there who is not a topic that comes about easily and often enough. So that if you know somebody who is planning to build a home, and you could ask them the question, is it going to be a forever home? And what about aging in place? The other thing too is that if you do come across somebody that requires some kind of assistance, like some of you, where you might see a need for them to reach out to get assistance in designing their home, for the elderly, for those who need that additional assistance. I mean, you could reach out to us, or even just like Robert said, reach out to some of these companies that we will list, where they can get the assistance that they need.
Yeah. All right. So that's it, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for joining us, and
Thanks for running it.
Thank you.
Really
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
bye.
everyone.